no. Oh no. Oh god. Alright, it's your turn to do a review. I'm tired of this shit. You're gonna review a game.
You know, I've actually been playing a game recently, and I think it would work out great for a review, so yeah.
And what game would that be?
Beetle Adventure Racing for the Nintendo 64.
Wait, that's a good game. I want you to review a bad game. Wait. You just did this, so I had to review all the bad games, and you got to review all the good ones.
You are so quick to catch on to everything.
Fine, I'll be upstairs if you need me. I'm putting this shit back. Have to wait for another time.
Just Kyle, you want a hug?
Derek, just go review your game.
Well, I'd say that's good enough of an introduction. So I'm going to be doing a review of Beetle Adventure Racing for the Nintendo 64. We all know about the classics.
But some games didn't get the wide attention of the gaming public.
Some of them were hidden gems.
And others should have been kept a secret.
But the question has always been, who's going to talk about these games? That's why we're here. You know, in most cases, I would just start playing the game instantly, but in this case, I have to recommend something. In my opinion, the best way to get the most potential of any racing game is to use a racing wheel. And in my case, that racing wheel would be the Mad Catz racing wheel for the Nintendo 64. Now that I have the racing wheel, it's time to start with the championship. Now, I'm going to play on novice since I'm not really good at racing games. Plus, I wasn't good enough at advanced to maintain the overall first place ranking required to move on. Therefore, neither of the maps, Metro Madness or Wicked Woods, will be included in this, clips-wise. But I guess that won't really matter since overall I'm just doing a overview of the controls, sounds, graphics, and physics. When it comes to controls in this game, it's pretty good. However, one gripe I have is that the turning is pretty bad. You're gonna have to let off the gas or drift if the turns are sharp. Unless you're coming up to light turns, such as curves along the road, then either one of these is necessary. Other than that, the controls are very plain and simple. The racing wheel is much more fun to use than a regular controller. However, there is no sensitivity changing, which might kind of be a downfall for most of the people who play this game with the racing wheel. And turning the wheel all the way to the left or right, either side, it's kind of hardly effective. Well, that's all there really is controls-wise. When it comes to sound, the sounds are okay. The cars sound decent. The announcer who counts down to the beginning of the race and announces the name of the track is alright. Especially when he says, "Welcome to Mount Mayhem." The blowing up and crashing sounds are fine. There's really not all that much special about them. And the sound for when your car tips upside down and shatters for no reason is okay, but more on that in the graphics portion. The T-Rex and Infernal Isle isn't the best, but it sounds pretty good as you pass by. Also, the sounds when shooting rockets and other items in the Beetle battle mode are alright as well. Then there's the music. I noticed some people it might kind of sound boring and repetitive, but to me it's actually kind of calming, soothing, and reminiscent of Minecraft. As you're driving along, which in this game is usually peaceful, you're accompanied by an equally peaceful soundtrack as you drive through the deserts of Sunset Sands, the forests of Coventry Cove, or the snowy mountains of Next up, let's take a look at graphics. For an N64 game, is it good? Yes. In general, are the graphics good? Well, they could have used a bit more work. This isn't to say that the game looks bad, but compared to some areas, some of the visuals in the game don't look quite done. I'll give the designers credit for the T-Rex and Infernal Isle, the destruction of the village at the end of the track, and for the most part beautiful surroundings and scenery of Sunset Sands. However, some of the track's surroundings just don't look as good as I know they could have. For instance, the rocks in Infernal Isle look a bit square, and the fences keeping the dinosaurs off the main road could have looked a bit more detailed. But those are just some small gripes. What really gets me are the darkest areas in the entire game. In Infernal Isle, as you're passing through the mouth of this skull, it looks like you've been submerged into a darkness of which the designers didn't care to illuminate at all. And it's not just the entrance, the whole cave is like this. That's not the end of it either. In Mount Mayhem, sure, the lighting is a bit better, but it's not close enough to where it should be. And Sunset Sands suffers from this as well. There are 1 or 2 blind turns and rooms that are just plain dark. And gameplay is hurt by this also. But if you're not thinking in the context of lighting, then yes, the visuals are still good. What detail that has been put into the game is usually a pleasure to look at, and I am impressed with most of it. One last note, the whole car tipping over and randomly exploding thing makes absolutely no sense and is just there. On to physics. Physics in this game. For example, 2 of the jumps in Mount Mayhem prove that nothing here even closely resembles real physics. Falling does no damage at all, and running into other cars should really affect you, but it doesn't. It just barely slows you down. Some bumping occasionally boosts the person who was bumped too much. I know that when it comes to games that stuff such as physics shouldn't be accounted for, and although I make this sound like it hurts the game, it actually makes the gameplay more fun. The outcomes of different situations and actions in this game are made increasingly more fun when physics almost doesn't play any role. And that's why physics never really matters all that much in a game. If the programmers do a good job on physics, cool. If they make the physics completely different from reality, cool. If they played their cards right, they might just add to the gameplay. And with this game, it does. One last thing I need to mention really quickly. Hey Kyle, come down here really quickly. I need you to finish the review. We just need him for the 2-player mode.
Still mad at you. You get to review a good game.
Cool story, bro. The first thing I wanted to mention was the 2-player mode. The 2-player mode is okay fun. It's not the greatest multiplayer game out there, but it's entertaining for a while. You are able to choose from any of the maps you would like to play, which is nice. It's not really different from single player at all, except for the fact that you play with real people instead of CPUs. Lastly, we have the Beetle battle mode.
Beetle battle mode? What did 5-year-old name this?
Kyle, we all understand you're pissed, but this is actually a very good game. So just calm down.
I know.
Now, going into this, I just expected that you crash into the other person and the first person to reach enough deaths or explosions loses, but it turned out completely different. The objective of the mode is to collect 6 different colored beetles, and don't die because each time you do, you lose 1 beetle. Not to mention how much of a pain it is to time it just right. 1 beetle spawns in at a time and it changes colors, which creates a system to troll. If someone is missing a certain color and is waiting for the beetle to change, another player can drive up and take it. Kyle won me every single time.
I love racing.
Another thing I didn't understand was why I didn't have all the Beetle battle tracks unlocked. Maybe it was because I didn't beat the single player. That reminds me, every Beetle battle track is new. By this, I mean no tracks have been taken from single player or 2-player. Although they are supposed to be arenas, which means they are relatively small. Overall, I think this is a very good racing game. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It's enjoyable and playable, yet dark and under-detailed in some areas. Thank you for watching this episode of Obscure Game Reviews, and it's most likely going to be Kyle who sees you on the next one. Alright, Kyle, that's all I need you for. You can go now.
Whatever, man. Have fun with your good games.
Hey, Kyle.
What?
This one's a bit of a wild card.